Deep inside the Amazon rainforest, there exists a river that seems almost impossible. At first glance, it looks like any other jungle river. Green trees surround the water. Mist rises into the humid air. Birds fly overhead and insects buzz through the forest. But there is something very different about this river. The water is dangerously hot, not warm, not slightly heated by the sun, but nearly boiling. In some places, the temperature can reach almost 90 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cause severe burns within seconds, hot enough to kill animals that fall into the water. This strange river flows through a remote part of the Peruvian Amazon. It is known as Timpishka. The name comes from the language of the Ashaninka people, who have lived in this region for generations. Translated roughly into English, the name means boiled with the heat of the sun. But the sun alone cannot explain such extreme temperatures. Even in the hottest tropical climates, rivers do not normally reach temperatures close to boiling, and yet this river does. The water is so hot that steam often rises from its surface. Visitors standing nearby can feel the heat radiating from the river. Touching the water without protection can cause immediate injury, and animals that accidentally fall into the river rarely survive. Small creatures such as birds, insects, and reptiles sometimes fall into the water and die within moments. The heat quickly overwhelms them. Their bodies cannot withstand the temperature. For people living in the surrounding rainforest, this river has always been part of local legend. For centuries, indigenous communities have known about the boiling river. To them, it was never considered a mystery. It was a sacred place. Many believed powerful spirits lived within the river. These spirits were said to protect the land and punish those who showed disrespect. Local shamans warned villagers not to disturb the river unnecessarily. They taught that the river possessed dangerous power. Stories passed down through generations described animals falling into the water and being instantly killed by the heat. Travelers were warned to stay away from the most dangerous areas of the river. For the people who lived nearby, these stories were simply part of everyday life. But outside the rainforest, almost nobody believed them. For scientists and researchers, the idea of a boiling river deep in the Amazon seemed impossible. Boiling water in nature is normally associated with volcanic activity. Hot springs and geysers usually appear in regions where magma lies close to the surface. Places like Yellowstone National Park in the United States, or volcanic regions in Iceland. But the Amazon rainforest is very different. There are no active volcanoes near the boiling river. The nearest volcanic regions are hundreds of kilometers away. Without a nearby heat source, scientists believed that a boiling river could not exist. So for many years, the stories of the boiling river were dismissed as myths. Interesting stories, perhaps, but not scientific reality. And so the mysterious river remained largely unknown to the outside world, hidden deep within the jungle, waiting for someone curious enough to search for it. One person who refused to dismiss the legend was a young Peruvian scientist named Andrés Russo. Russo grew up hearing stories about the boiling river. His grandfather once told him about a river in the Amazon, so hot that animals falling into it would be cooked alive. At the time, Russo assumed it was simply a story meant to entertain children. But the idea stayed with him. Years later, Russo became a geoscientist specializing in geothermal energy. His work focused on heat generated within the earth. One day, the story of the boiling river came back to him. Now that he understood more about geology, he wondered if the story could actually be true. He began asking other scientists about the possibility of such a river existing. Most of them dismissed the idea immediately. They explained that rivers cannot reach boiling temperatures unless they are heated by nearby volcanic activity. And since there were no volcanoes in that part of the Amazon, the story must be false. But Russo was not convinced. Curiosity is one of the most powerful forces in science, and curiosity pushed him to investigate further. Eventually, Russo learned that local guides in the Amazon knew about a river that matched the description. Determined to see it for himself, he traveled deep into the Peruvian rainforest. The journey was difficult. The Amazon jungle is one of the most challenging environments on Earth. Dense vegetation covers the land. Roads are rare. Travel often requires boats or long treks through thick forest. But after days of travel, Russo finally reached the river. And when he saw it, he realized something extraordinary. Steam was rising from the water. The river stretched through the forest for several kilometers. The heat radiating from the surface was unmistakable. To confirm what he was seeing, Russo carefully measured the temperature of the water. The thermometer quickly climbed higher and higher, 70 degrees Celsius, then 80. In some areas, the water reached nearly 90 degrees Celsius, hot enough to burn human skin within seconds. The legendary boiling river was real. What had once been dismissed as a myth was now proven to exist. But discovering the river only raised a new question. How was it possible? Without volcanoes nearby, what was heating the water? Scientists studying the boiling river eventually discovered that its heat comes from deep underground. Rainwater from the Amazon rainforest slowly seeps into cracks and fractures in the Earth's surface. Over time, this water travels deep beneath the ground. The deeper it goes, the hotter the surrounding rock becomes. The Earth's crust naturally produces geothermal heat. In some areas, this heat can warm underground water to extremely high temperatures. Eventually, the heated water rises back toward the surface. Through geological faults, when enough hot water emerges, it can form hot springs. In rare cases, it can even create an entire hot river. The boiling river of the Amazon appears to be one of these rare cases. Even without nearby volcanoes, geothermal energy deep underground is powerful enough to heat the water. Today, the river remains one of the most unusual natural phenomena on Earth, hidden deep within the rainforest. A river so hot that it can cook animals alive. A place once believed to be a myth, but now recognized as a real and extraordinary part of our planet. And it serves as a reminder that even today, there are still mysteries hidden within the natural world, waiting to be discovered. Even today, the boiling river remains one of the most mysterious natural places on Earth. The river flows for more than 6 kilometers through the rainforest. Not every part of the river is boiling. Some sections are warm, but other areas are extremely hot. In certain narrow channels, the water temperature can rise high, enough to produce constant steam. Visitors walking near these sections can feel waves of heat rising from the water. The surrounding air becomes humid and heavy. Sometimes the surface of the river appears to shimmer as the hot water moves through the jungle. Despite the danger, the river is not completely lifeless. Some forms of life have adapted to survive in the surrounding environment. Certain microorganisms can tolerate higher temperatures than most animals. These organisms live in the warm edges of the river, where conditions are less extreme. Scientists continue to study these organisms because they may help us understand how life survives in extreme environments. Studying these microorganisms could even help researchers understand how life might survive on other planets. But the boiling river is not only important for science, it is also culturally important for the local communities who have lived near it for generations. For them, the river has always been more than just a natural phenomenon. It is a sacred place. Local shamans believe the river is protected by powerful spiritual forces. Ceremonies are sometimes performed near the river to show respect to the spirits of the forest. Because of its cultural and scientific importance, efforts are now being made to protect the region. Large parts of the surrounding rainforest remain protected from development. Researchers, environmental groups, and local communities are working together to preserve the river and its ecosystem. This helps ensure that the boiling river will continue to exist for future generations. Today, the boiling river of the Amazon stands as a reminder of how little we still know about our planet. Even in an age of satellites and advanced technology, there are still incredible discoveries hidden in remote places, deep within the jungle, far from cities, far from roads, waiting quietly to be discovered. And sometimes those discoveries challenge everything we thought we knew about the natural world. Because somewhere in the vast Amazon rainforest, a river still flows through the jungle. A river so hot that it nearly boils. A river that once seemed impossible, but is very real.